This is Kal Kat, the Kal Katster, and this is New Year's Eve Day, and this is the results of the 2013 Clara Awards, the award-winning movies of 2013. As you know, the Clara Awards is more of a popularity contest where we take the best and the brightest popular movies, not the dramas and the dark ones and all that, the popular ones, and and we say, oh, this is the best movie of the year. So, the nominees for best movies of the year will now come forward. Yes, I will look over there and then come back here. Okay, there was a latecomer movie called American Hustle. I didn't actually review it. I'm probably not gonna review it. It was okay, so it didn't make the cut anyway. So it doesn't matter. Also, apparently Monsters University did not make the cut because it just didn't. It wasn't all that great. So, best or worst. It wasn't all that bad. It wasn't all that great. So we just didn't include it at all. So, So those are the two that are not on there. Weren't a lot to choose from, actually. Especially in the drama category. Because we have not seen 12 Years a Slave or The Butler. Although, based on other reviews of it, from others of the story, will say The Butler is probably gonna... We said The Butler is was okay, but we have not seen it. So, didn't win anyway, so don't worry about it. Okay, the winner of the Best Action Movie of the Year is Star Trek Into Darkness, which was not necessarily a Star Trek movie. It was trying to imitate Star Trek 2, but it was a good action movie, and it pressed all the right buttons. So, give that as an action movie, best action movie of the year, Star Trek Into Darkness. Thor 2 and Iron Man 3 and The Hobbit are also mentioned, but under different things. I think those other sequels were fine, but they were not the best action movie. They were, Okay, best fantasy movie of the year was The Hobbit 2, The Desolation of Smaug, for its world-building ability, for its epic classification. It's epic, and it just wins for that category. It wouldn't win for Best Picture, it wouldn't win for other kind of stuff, but for that, okay. That's fantasy. Okay, the best horror movie of the year is The Conjuring. Although I haven't seen it, everyone else seems to like it. So we're going to say The Conjuring wins Best Picture of the Year because it's scarier than the other ones were, and hits all the right buttons, pushes all the right buttons. Okay. Granted, here we have not seen a lot of dramas this year. And the ones that we saw were rather, so okay. I don't know what Oscar's going to do in February, because this year it's in February, because there isn't a lot. And here we have this. Okay, the best drama of the year will go to Captain Phillips. The Oscars might even say that. Only because it's like best of the year of movies that aren't so hot. Sort of like 2007, 2008. Best of the year of movies that weren't so hot. Yeah, Slumdog Millionaire. Yeah, that's on the bargain bin. Tells you how good that movie was. Yeah, that's on the bargain bin. You can go to Walmart and get that for $7. That tells you how memorable that movie is and how much everyone wants it. Also the case for the classics like There Will Be Blood and Brokeback Mountain. They're also on the bargain list. So it's like, okay, these were Oscar-winning movies. Yeah, how come they're $7 or $8? Bargain bin. Some of them cheaper. They couldn't have been that great if they're on the bargain bin. So anyway, here we have, of course that's a little bit twisted logic, but why not? Okay, Captain Phillips will probably be on the bargain bin next year in Christmas time because it's okay, fine drama, Tom Hanks, that kind of thing. But that's all it is. It's just okay. Better than the other one, so I guess that's okay. But, yeah. Anyway, so go Captain Phillips. I didn't want to give it to Gravity, just because, okay, yeah, it's visually very pretty. It's one for another category, but it isn't going to get the Oscar. The Oscar people like long, drawn-out, talky character pieces. So they might actually like the 12 Years a Slave. They might actually like The Butler. They might actually like, it's going to hit all the right buttons for them. But, they might like American Hustle, too. But American Hustle really doesn't deserve the Oscar. I mean, if you're going to give it to that one, maybe for acting, considering they're ad-libbing like most of it, as I read up on it, it's just like, no, I don't think so. Anyway, so we're going to go on to the next one. Alright, I decided that since Captain Phillips wins Best Drama, that Best Picture of the year should be Gravity. Most crowd-pleasing, most eye candy, most basic acting, where the characters Bullock and Clooney are essentially doing the whole, two people stranded through the whole movie somewhere thing, except it's in space. As my review pointed out, maybe the next one will be in space on an alien ocean, just to do with a rock on someone's arm, like that other one, 127 Days. That was a screwed up movie. The one with the guy with the rock in the arm. Crank came down, falls down the canyon, and he's alone there. That was messed up. So was Soul Surfer, but neither of those movies are on the high-priced bin at the DVD store either. So there you go. Yeah, Best Drama, which could also be thriller in some parts, is Gravity. But because it's Alfonso Cuarón and because it looks like science fiction, Academy fogies are going to be like, no, I don't give that an Oscar. We haven't done that for years. When it's sort of like when the J.J. Abrams Star Trek 2009 came out, they're like, we're going to give it an Oscar. It's the first time a Star Trek movie's ever had an Oscar. Obviously, their memory is kind of short, because guess what Star Trek movie won an Oscar? In 1979, Star Trek the Motion Picture won for the same thing, for visual cinematography. So, yeah, it hasn't been the first time a Star Trek movie's won an Oscar. Star Trek the Motion Picture. I think it won musical score. That was a really awesome score. Star Wars won the year before, so there you go. John Williams followed by Jerry Goldsmith, so there you go. There are two people that they didn't really do a big thing for when they do the tribute. Jerry Goldsmith. They didn't really do much for him. Or Robert Wise, who was also one of the pioneer directors of that time period, who directed Star Trek, the motion picture. Now, the comedy category was a little difficult to choose because of what was going on in the comedies, but I think for the most part, we're going to go with, there were two End of Days movies. There was World's End and This Is the End there that had funny, shocking moments, but they were not laugh out loud funny. There were some scenes that were laugh out loud funny. The Jackass movie had the audience roaring. I think that's your barometer of your comedy, whether it's funny. So Jackass 4, The Bad Grandpa, wins for Best Comedy of the Year. Several years ago, which is now in the bargain bin, is a movie called Little Miss Sunshine. Same premise. Road trip and old guy training kid to be in a beauty pageant. Same premise. Except in Jackass, they're making fun of it. They're also making fun of the Honey Boo Boo, the Toddlers and Tiaras thing, which was ripping off Little Miss Sunshine. It's a weird connection, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon going on there, without Kevin Bacon. Maybe he was there somewhere, I don't know. But here we have, and yeah, I know they took that from 6 Degrees of Separation. I know that. Anyways, we're going to look at the next movie. So yeah, Bad Grandpa was hilarious. And although they did steal the idea of taking the dead body around from that National Lampoon's Vacation and from Weekend at Bernie's, Johnny Knoxville had a way of making it different and interesting. Now, although it's not in the review thing, the review thing of animated feature, Monsters University was not mentioned because it should get one of the dishonorable mentions, I guess, for being one of the dumber premises of that field. However, I didn't include it because even Monsters Inc. wasn't all that hot. So, although it wasn't bad, it wasn't great. It was just a weird premise. It's like, let's put them in college. I'm sure those little kids that are watching this will relate to that. Like, no, not at all. No. Best animated feature of the year. Best animated feature. We'll go to Frozen because even though Frozen has its problems, its issues with parts of it being a little mean-spirited and the ending premise being a little weird, that it actually works as a Disney movie. The Croods doesn't. That would be the other nominee. I don't know why that would even be there. Epic was good, but the trailer was bad. So yeah, there you go. There's your Frozen mid-all ribbons. It wasn't as good as some of the other Disney movies they've done. It's probably on a par with the Mouse Detective movie, or maybe the Fox and the Hound. It's not their greatest work, but it's up there. You know, it's worth something. So yeah, Frozen, the Ice Princess. Even though it deviates quite a bit from the Hans Christian Andersen book, the Ice Queen, considerably different. Yeah, I don't think there's anybody with Ice Queen powers, for one thing. I think it's she just has an evil mirror that possesses her. Kind of like the Snow White, a little bit. I think that also was him, too. Maybe. They liked that imagery back then. They were afraid of things like mirrors and stuff. Okay, I have not seen The Secret Life of Walter Mitty remake movie. I might see it on video later for $1. Apparently, the premise of this movie is completely different from the book. In the book, which I've read, it's not Life magazine. It's just he's a writer, and he fantasizes about going on adventures. That's the whole point. But the point is also that he keeps fantasizing about the adventures all the way to the end of the book, and learns about life vicariously through the others that he kind of puts off in the book. It's like It's a Wonderful Life with a guy who's schizophrenic, basically. And it's like he's not just fantasizing. He thinks he's actually there. He's like, ooh, I'm actually seeing these things and stuff's going on. I can see why the other actor bowed out and they got Stiller, because he probably read the script. In the movie, apparently, this guy, the Walter Mitty character, works for Life magazine, which doesn't make sense. There's evil corporations, doesn't make sense. And apparently, the fantasies stop and he goes on a real adventure, which is in the premise, so I'm not giving anything away. It's like, that defeats the purpose of the story, because it's about the guy fantasizing. If he gets into reality, that's breaking the fourth wall and saying, oh, well, doesn't count because he really does something real with his life and accomplishes something. No, the point of the book is he's a loser who is also probably mentally ill, who goes on an adventure, that he doesn't really go on because he's imagining it. Now, that's the point of the book, which the movie didn't get. Also, I didn't mention here, but the Steve Jobs movie, although it's not going to get any awards, why they didn't mention Wozniak, who actually did most of the legwork, just because he didn't want to be in it or something. Like, no, you got to mention Wozniak. There were two of them. What's the deal with that? That's going to be on the bargain bin. Where's Wozniak? He did most of it. What? Like, no. Oh, and Ashton Kutcher? Really? No. No. He don't look like Steve Jobs at all. Let's put a beard on him. Yeah, he'll look more like Steve Jobs. How? Now we get into the category of worst films, which is always fun to do, to have the raspberry kind of thing with our version too. Like, you get to look at the crappiest films of the year, which is fun. Okay, the crappiest movie of the year, and possibly comedy. The crappiest movie of the year is movie 43. That movie was so awful. Okay, they had the premise of it being gross, and I did a long review of it earlier. But the premise of it being gross and uber shocking and disgusting, and that can be okay as long as it's funny. But None of the scenes worked. It literally was a sketch comedy that falls right on its ass because there is just no way any of that stuff would work the way they wrote it and then filmed it. They should have taken advice from even the guy, Cohen's other brother or something, even him. They should have taken advice from, they should have called up Dan Aykroyd and Steve Martin and said, what is funny? You know, like, they should have called up some of the old school guys and said, okay, this isn't going to work because none of these jokes work. They should let Seth MacFarlane rewrite it. But yeah, it was awful. It's agreed over the board, pretty much, that it's an awful movie. But it actually is the worst movie that I've seen of the year in that category. Because it is really bad. It's just awful. It's just... and even the Red Letter Media guys didn't want to review it. They reviewed another sketch comedy and said it was that one. There were other ones that were worse that were sequels, like Grown Ups 2 and whatever. But it's like, no, this is the worst comedy film of this year. It's absolutely, possibly one of the worst of the decade. Oh yeah, it was worst comedy of the year, but I would say worst film of the year too. Okay, the next one is a science fiction fantasy film, worst of the year. Goes to After Earth. There are 3 names and reasons why After Earth is the worst fantasy film of this year. M. Night Shyamalan, Will Smith, and his son, Jaden Smith. Okay, yeah, here's where you went wrong. You cast Will Smith and his son as a vanity piece, but you let Shyamalan direct this movie. Yeah, there's your problem right there. Because that guy ruined Avatar: The Last Airbender. How could he do that? He ruined it. He destroyed it. And no, he has destroyed the post-apocalyptic... Now he's destroyed the post-apocalyptic sci-fi movie for all time. Wow. I would rather watch Battlefield Earth again, which is probably the worst movie of the last decade, than watch After Earth all the way through. Fear is an illusion. These creatures on the planet are evolved to kill us. This is... Granted that during this review, that we did not have any best director, any best actor, any best drama. Not really. Well, a little bit, but we're pretty much done. But the last part of this is we had to give mention to another vanity piece other than After Earth. The vanity piece of One Direction, This Is Us. Incidentally, This Is Us doesn't make any sense grammatically. It's either they are us or this is me. It is never this is us. You can't have a singular describing a plural or a plural describing a singular. They or us makes sense. This is us doesn't make sense. Mom, this is us. They or us would work. This is us does not. This is our show. That might work. But anyway, the premise, of course, is that somehow they do, and we ranted about One Direction plenty of times. But we're going to the One Direction movie this year. That the premise was that like even if you're second place at X Factor in Britain, you can suddenly become stars. Of course, it helps that you know the guy running the X Factor. It helps that your PR agents are off the scale. It helps that you have the internet to spread it all over the place, and that you run the premise that you are somehow the next British Invasion or the next Beatles. No, you're not. No, you guys can't even play. You can just sing. So, come on. The Beatles could play. Now, also, they are basically in sync, but yeah, and the Spice Girls. Also, The Hunger Games 2 was even more like Battle Royale, the sequel, except that Battle Royale was more of a horror movie, and Hunger Games 2 more of a thriller. Yeah, so yeah, although the Hunger Games fans, well, no, it's not. Of course, they haven't seen Battle Royale. So it's a little bit, the premise is the same, but the the story is different. The premise being, oh, they're going to put a bunch of teenagers on an island and have them kill each other. Same premise, but the orchestration is different. The dystopia of Battle Royale is a society that's freaked out about children taking over for the adults and stuff. It's this weird sort of convoluted thing. And so the adults kill all the kids by putting them on the island. But in the other one, it's the haves and the have-nots. It's like the rich people decide, let's have these Hunger Games to keep all the poor people in line. So let's send them over to the island to have their kids be represented. So it's a little different orchestration. Different dystopia, but same result. You have a hero that has to fight the adversity. Unlike Walter Mitty, who isn't supposed to be the hero, he's just a crazy guy who imagines a lot of shit. Yeah. And then it ends. There, go read the book. The movie, no, he has to be heroic for real. What? No, he doesn't. So yeah, there you go, the Clara Awards. I just mentioned the Hunger Games, but we gave them an honorable mention, the Hunger Games 2, for chewing scenery. All of the actors get to chew lots of scenery, and they do infinitum, just chewing lines like, like they love them, all of them. Ooh, and Dreyfus is a comedy guy, so it's kind of funny. Bring snow. What's interesting is the book version of the Hunger Games 2. Snow is described as oily like a snake, not as literally this Santa Claus-like evil guy with a long beard. He's described as snake-like. He's described more like Voldemort from Harry Potter than anything else. Then he's described as like this. The snow part of it is that he's icy and snake-like. Not that he has this flowing beard, but they decided to take some liberties with that. So is Jennifer Lawrence in all of her movies going to play some sort of confused half chick that's trying to get out of being confused? Because she does that a lot in her movies. Several Lines Playbook, the Hustle, American Hustle, Hunger Games movies. Anyway, so yeah, the Clara Awards 2013 on Christmas, on New Year's Eve day. Yeah. That's it. Okay, that's Kal Kat signing off.